This is a presentation of National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasters, 70 weekly shows, and a 3.4-star rating on Roku TV.
I don't know, Jack. It's a big decision.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem with saying space.
Pittsburgh at Buffalo.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought I was right. So anyway,
Yeah, Mac, you're really interested in these playoffs.
so
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
And here we go. It's Monday, Jack. We're starting off the Roku channel here on the Mac and Jack Sports Show, as we do every day during the week. Welcome to everybody tuning in. Welcome to Jack, who has something going on. I'm going to let him talk about it. He does have an event coming up. I do want to give him as much publicity on this as possible. And listen. You've got some big things.
Yeah, Mac, people want to hear the sport news, so I'll go over this very quickly. September 15th in New York at Russo's on the Bay, we have the New York State Boxing Hall of Fame banquet. If you want to get tickets, place an ad. It would be appreciated. It's going to be a great afternoon. Go to www.nysboxing, the word boxing, HOF.org, www.nys, the word boxing, HOF.org.
All right, there you go. So check it out. Check it out. Get out there and check it out. So, Jack, let's start with the Olympic news. And listen, Kevin Durant made me shut me up. All right. I mean, I've been saying Durant's hurt. Don't let him play. Get him off there. Get somebody else on there. But guess what? Durant comes through yesterday against Serbia. He comes in first half, makes 21 of 23 points. LeBron James, another big game. Too much for the Serbia team, and they win their first match in the Olympic rounds, Jack.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing some of the matchups of that game. Jokic going head-to-head with Joel Embiid. I mean, those are two big stars in the NBA. And Kevin Durant was phenomenal yesterday. He just, had it all together. He was in the zone. I mean, he looked tremendous. Was the best play on the court yesterday. Mac, wasn't Kevin Durant the guy you were saying should just be sent home, that he's hurt, he's this, the Phoenix owner should insist he comes home? Come on. I mean, guys have a little nagging injury. They know whether they should continue or not. I mean, sometimes they want to be careful and they take a few days. But Durant was phenomenal. And Anthony Edwards, was interviewed. And Durant was his idol growing up.
Yes.
When he was in high school, Durant was his idol, and now he gets to play with them. So he's really, really excited. So as brash as Anthony Edwards might seem, and it's an innocent type brash, there's not a meanness behind Anthony Edwards. He defers to a guy like Kevin Durant because when you have an idol growing up, he always you give him a reverence, even when you become a star yourself.
Listen, I agree, and hey, listen, I'm shutting up about Kevin Durant for the rest of the Olympic games here.
Yeah, he can't help the team. He's hurt. Who needs him? I like
Oh,
kicking it to you, Mac.
I know. Hey, listen, I
Give
opened
you
the door.
credit too when you deserve it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, Simone Biles takes she's ready to roll again. She had a problem with her ankle too, Jack. She tweaked her ankle a couple of weeks ago. It got better as it went on. It looked like she re-injured a little bit. She was hobbling. She told a teammate she might need a wheelchair. But I mean, what can you say about this woman? She's the best gymnast ever, Jack. A couple other of her teammates also qualified in the different categories. But her floor routine, the vault she does, the balance. I mean, she was just great, Jack.
You know, when I saw her walking off with that ankle issue, she wasn't limping, but there was an issue there. And it shows you how precarious it is to be an athlete, especially an Olympic athlete more than any other sport. Because if the Olympics is your prime obsession, you have only one chance every 4 years. It's not like you can come back next year. Now, I know they have things called the World Championships, which competition-wise is just as prestigious as the Olympics, but that's to the athletes only. To the public, to the average sports fan, the average person on the street, they don't care about world championships. They just want to know what an athlete did in the Olympics, because the Olympics is the magic word, even though the world championships in reality are just as prestigious. You see Simone Biles walking off and you're wondering, one little injury changes everything, especially to a gymnast. I mean, you could have another sport where you maybe can only put 70% of your weight on that foot. You might be able to get by. You might be able to perform just as effectively, but not in gymnastics where you have to stick those landings and show extraordinary balance. But Simone Biles, who knows how her ankle is, but, you know, she performed wonderfully yesterday. And at age 27, Mac, I think she's rewriting the rules a little bit about gymnasts having to be very, very young. Not that 27 is old, but for gymnasts, it's considered old.
You're 100% correct, Jack. After we watched the Olympics over the years, you have 13, 14-year-old girls competing, some winning gold, some not. But if you look at Simone Biles, she is little. Compared to her Olympic, her team, she's a little thing. And I think that helps her out a little bit too, But anyways, my God,
a great personality. She's a great representative.
Yes.
When you look at what she's meant, just not only for her sport, but for the Olympics in general. Very well spoken, very intelligent. Just wonderful. That's the word to describe her. She's so likable.
I agree. And a little trouble. The Canadian women's soccer team, got in trouble. They were spying at their counterpoint points. Their counter team they were playing, I think it's Australia was the team that they were filming their practice with a drone. And I guess there has been in the America Cup. There was also the men and women were accused of spying on the other teams they were about to play. They're in trouble. The head coach, 2 staff members, they are banned from working in soccer for a year. The team was punished 6 points at the Olympic at these Olympics, making it very hard for them to win the gold now. So it affects when you do something like this and you get caught. I mean, the people that actually were, doing this, the players are the ones that are, you can't do this, but every 4 years. And some of these players Canada had a good team. They had a good team. And these players may not be able to compete 4 years from now. And
the players are affected. And I have no idea what the Canadian Federation is going to do, who they're going to hold responsible. But the point is, it's what it is. You can't just say, well, it's one person. What's a team using that information that they were given? It's like the relay. Mac, you have 4 runners on a relay, and one of them gets caught later on, tests positive for steroid use, and the other 3 had no knowledge about it, and they're clean.
Yeah.
I mean, they might think, well, why are we getting penalized because it's such and such? You're a team, it happens. Hey, where do you draw the line, Mac? Even in non-Olympic sports, let's say baseball, a team wins the World Series, but one of the star player he tests positive. The star player who got the big hits. Do you take the World Series victory away from the team and give it to the other team after you played the games? I know in the sport of boxing, if one fighter who wins a fight tests positive after the fight, they usually are going to take the victory away and maybe declare it a no contest, afterwards.
Right.
You can't do that in these team sports, like after the result is in.
100%, Jack. And the people that were affected, of course, the head coach, Beverly Friesman, was removed herself from coaching in the game. Canada did win that game 2-1 the next game. Lombardi, the assistant coach, who was a staff member, and assistant coach Jasmine Mander, they both they got sent home. They're done. So I imagine there's going to be more into this investigation. It ain't over. So if they find more stuff, they could be penalized more, and maybe these guys get removed from the team. And like I said, the players went out and won the game, but they ended up taking 6 points away from them. So it's going to be hard. They call it the knockout round, Jack. So I mean, they may be dead in the water just because of that. It's a shame.
You wouldn't expect it though, Mac, from Canada. Something about that nation. It's not known for trying to cheat to get over, but this is a scandal in Canada right now. It brings a certain amount of shame to the country. Exactly,
Jack. So the U.S. men's 400 by 1 freestyle swimming relay, they struck gold. So another part of the United States. I don't even know who the heck was on the team, to tell you the truth.
I've been watching that, believe it or not. I've been watching Olympic events.
Good.
I mean, the men beat Australia. The United States relay teams have had a rivalry with Australia, it seems, kind of reminiscent a little of the Yankee-Red Sox rivalry, not the one they have now, but the one they had like 25 years ago. And, the United States, it's a great job. Australia won the silver in that relay.
Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit of the Major League Baseball. The locals, Cleveland beats Philly 4-3. Schwarber had a multi-home run game in the loss. The Yankees take 2 out of 3 from Boston, 8-2. They won yesterday. Rodon had a good game pitching. Chisholm, the player they just picked up, as you said, hit a single. A little bit about Chisholm as we go on. He's batting in 101 games, 249, 13 home runs, 22 stolen bases. So the guy's got some offense. We talked about it a little bit off screen. He's an outfielder. He can play second base. He's like a major pickup like getting a Guerrero or something like that. But he is a nice little piece to have around to give players rest and to give them some offense, Jack. And yesterday it kind of paid off. I don't know if he was a catalyst. Really?
It didn't pay. No. Let's not get carried away. Right. The Yankees were up 7-2. Chisholm gets an infield single, running around the bases. After that, at second base, he ran into the Red Sox shortstop's elbow and went down, but got back to second. Then third base, he noticed wasn't being covered when he was on second. So he stole that base. It was an open base. It was a heads-up play with the Yankees up 7-2. They're giving him third base. He sees he took it. And there was 1 out. DJ LeMayo, the next batter, hits a fly ball to right field, which allows Chisholm to tag up and score and produce an extra run to make it 8-2 because of the heads-up play by him. DJ LeMayo should be most thankful, because if Chisholm didn't make the heads-up play and go to third, it would have been just a fly ball to right field, and LeMayo would have been out, and LeMayo gets an RBI, a sacrifice an RBI, because of Chisholm's heads-up play, but it didn't make a difference in the game. Chisholm, the knock on Chisholm has been his personality. He seems to be extra hyper. You could tell in the dugout how he's reacting, but I don't know whether he's a team guy or not. He might be a very good team guy. Some people have hyper personalities. That's just the way they are, just the way they act. You might have to reel them in and have them calm down somewhat. And that might be the case with Chisholm. You saw him in the dugout next to Aaron Judge on a regular basis. There's no better way to get a player credibility than to have Aaron Judge give a stamp of approval. So you just hang next to Aaron Judge and people are going to feel you're all right. Aaron is looking at you and he's smiling now and then. So if Aaron says you're good, then you're good. And but Chisholm on the field, on the bases, he gives the Yankees a dimension they don't have with no one else, with the exception of Anthony Volpe. Gets on the bases, he could disturb the pitcher. Nice addition, nice pickup, Matt.
Yes.
And he'll get the play. They'll move him around maybe different positions, but good pickup ball. And they still need bullpen help, the Yankees.
Yes.
They need bullpen help.
But a young kid too, Jack. You know, he's only 26 years old, 24 years old. I mean, that's what I like about it. You need a shot of energy every now and then, and you can't just depend on Volpe to do that. The real two heroes.
Well, what I like too, he's under team control through the 2026 season.
Right.
So it's not like he's a rental.
Right.
You know, so that element is good.
Very good. And of course, against the Phillies, we will get Stanton back. He's scheduled to come back in the series against the Phillies. In the game, though, Jack, the two real heroes were Torres and Cabrera. They both drove in 2 runs. So, I mean, the two young guys of the Yankees. And you know, I'm glad to see base hitting. I want them to do more of that instead of trying to go for the fences, as I say all the time. It's good. You get the bat on the ball and things happen instead of just trying to take that big swing, you know. And that's what I think. If the Yankees do that, I think they'll be fine. We definitely need pitching help, starting and relief, to be honest with you, Jack.
And Stanton coming back is more important than people might realize, because when he went out, the Yankee lineup was slumping. He's that extra big bat behind Soto and Judge. Not quite on the level with Soto and Judge, but Stanton was having a good year. He represents a threat. Okay, right. And believe me, the Yankees can use his bat in the lineup as much as possible. The only thing about Stanton that bothers me, because he had this hamstring injury that put him out a month or so, are the Yankees going to be reluctant to put him in the field? You know, you can't afford to have Stanton as a full-time DH. You just can't. He's got to take the field once in a while, or he can't be in the lineup. I mean, that's just the way it has to be. If I'm the Yankees, I can't be so timid and so scared that he's going to get hurt that it's going to affect the rest of the team by me just using him exclusively as a DH.
I agree with you to a point. I think maybe you start him some games and pull him later for defensive purposes, you know, whatever. If you have a better defensive outfielder, maybe you pull him late in the game. Unless the game's close and you need the big swing. I mean, that's
something. You don't want to play on the field that much, Matt, but you got to.
Yeah, I understand.
Some of the time.
I do agree with that, Jack. I do. You got to keep him involved in the game instead of sitting there and, you know, kind of, you know, you play better. I think you play better, Jack, any sport, if you're fully invested, right? If you're not fully invested, they put you out there. It's a big moment. Maybe you do it, maybe you don't. But I know if you're playing the game instead of just sitting there and swinging the bat, I feel anyway, I think you play better because you're more invested.
And the Yankee lineup is on an upswing because Gleyber Torres has been hitting. Austin Wells, their catcher, has been hitting. I mean, these guys are much better than they were early in the year, so they're coming on somewhat. So I could see the Yankee lineup with Stanton there. You know, the addition of Chisholm, the way Gleyber Torres, Wells is hitting. Judge is phenomenal. Soto, same way. I could see an upswing.
Yes. The Mets get beat up by the Braves as the Braves homer 4 times. So don't count the Braves out yet, folks. I mean, I know Phillies, they're having an outstanding year so far. The Braves are no pushovers.
Well, they're 8.5 games out. Braves are very unlikely to win the division at this
But
point,
wild
even
card
though
wise.
you never know. Right, it's a wild card.
Yes.
Braves can get in the playoffs, and they can definitely cause some damage. They're definitely a threat. So I
Right.
agree with you. But you can't write anyone off. The Arizona Diamondbacks went to the World Series. I mean, think of the teams that didn't go in the NL last year. The Phillies, the Braves, the Dodgers didn't go, and the Diamondbacks did.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, who can write anyone off? You take the American League. A team like the Twins could go to the World Series. Who knows? I mean,
It's possible, Jack. It's possible.
yeah, I mean, who can tell? I mean,
It's definitely possible. Let's see. The Astros join the Yankees and Padres in the bidding war over Cubs starter James Talon. And the trade deadline is right now 48 hours away. So if the Yankees are going to make a move on the starting or relief pitching, and I agree with you, they do need relief pitching. You got 48 hours to do it. I would love to see.
I want to know the Yankees. What are they happy with what they have? That's what I kind of wonder about. There's a rumor that Nestor Cortez might be made available. But what are they going to get in return for Nestor Cortez? It would have to be really a player that could be a real impact to them for them to trade Nestor Cortez. Unless the Yankees are thinking, well, Clark Schmidt is going to be coming back. He could take the place in the rotation. Maybe the Yankees aren't going to make a major move. Maybe they'll make a minor move for bullpen help. That's my feeling how it's going to play out, that they're willing to go with the guys they have. They'll make a minor move for bullpen help, and take it as is.
All right. So let's see. La Cruz. Jack, the dude stole 4 bases. Yes, they lost. But this guy is just pure energy.
Cincinnati Red shortstop.
Yes, I mean, this kid is just he gets on first, he's on second. I mean, he's going. They know it, and they still have a problem getting him. I haven't seen anybody like this since Ricky Henderson. He tied Troy Nixon for the most amount of bases stealed by a certain date. This kid. I mean, what? This is what baseball is about, Jack. Right? You get on the base, you take second. Sometimes you take third. They didn't win, but I mean, this is a kid that anybody would love to have playing for the team, and I just love watching somebody like that play ball.
Yeah, what happened to the days of Ricky Henderson, Lou Brock, and Murray Wills, where a player is going to get on first base, a dynamic base runner with a lot of speed, and he's going to steal second on a regular basis? I guess they have these analytics, Mac, that maybe show trying to steal might not be the smartest thing to do, with the exception of certain players. But
Yes.
Analytics don't take into account how it affects the pitcher once a runner's on first base and he's a threat to steal.
Not correct.
Like we're talking about the Yankees, like with having John Chisholm now, having Anthony Volpe, how much does that disturb the pitcher? How much does it affect the pitcher with the next batter? We don't see any analytics on that.
I agree, Jack. And to me, any kind of offense that you could do, whether you got a good bunter or there's a chance he might bunt, stealing bases, hitting runs, all these things I think put pressure on the pitcher. If you're a good, for instance, Derek Jeter, we know is great going to right field. You got a guy on second base. You want to get it to the right side of the field. That pitcher's going to try and pitch you inside. Derek Jeter could bring his wrists in, but a lot of batters can't do that. So the pitchers are going to hang the ball out over the plate, or try not to hang the ball out over the plate to keep him from going to the right side. This, to me, Jack, changes the whole pitching philosophy. So he's got to be even more perfect. And I agree with you. Any kind of offense that can put pressure on the pitcher is great. It's great for your team. So anyway, let me see. Boston picked up a backup catcher, no big deal.
Well,
Warriors are looking-
you never know. I mean, I don't like to say it's not a big deal. These players, these reserves are valuable to an extent. I mean, they do help a team. You know, they come out of that. Sometimes these throwaway deals that don't seem like much, could, have a major impact. I was reading a book that Jack Curry wrote last year on the 1998 New York Yankees, and they talk about the deal the Yankees made for Scott Brosius in 1998. Scott Brosius comes to the Yankees. He'd had a terrible year with the Oakland Athletics. People thought it was a meaningless deal. You get a 203 hitter, and he turned out to be a World Series MVP
it's a good point. It's a good point. It's a good point. And the Red Sox starting catcher could get hurt, and this guy may have to step in.
Exactly. I mean, you don't know.
It's a great pick. Phillies picked up Carlos Estes from Los Angeles Angels.
Bullpen help,
Yeah, 20 saves, Jack, out of 23 chances. So, I mean,
Phillies reportedly gave up a really good prospect too. And the thing with Estevez, is he under team control? If this is his last year and then he's going to be a free agent, or are they just going all out for championship? They feel they have the team, they have to go all out now, and maybe they're thinking, we'll sign him at the end of the year. If he's really good for us, we'll lay the money out. We'll make him a priority in the off season. And sometimes teams get a player and they hope the player enjoys playing for that team so much, it gives them an edge to sign him in the off season. If all factors are equal, the money's close, the player's going to say, I love playing with my guys. I'm going to come back because the money is close enough. Yankees are banking on that to an extent with Juan Soto, and the Mets, if they want to re-sign Pete Alonso, the Yankees want to re-sign Juan Soto. That's a no-brainer. They want to re-sign him badly as long as the economics can be worked out from their end. But the Mets, you wonder how bad they want Pete Alonso as a free agent, how far they'll go to keep him. I'm not sure about that.
Well, we shall see. He did have a home run yesterday. His home run, his power is back so far. And from what I read, last thing I read, the Mets told all interested parties they're not trading him this year. We'll see what happens.
Well, because in contention, we were talking on our big football show yesterday about Saquon Barkley, why the Giants should have kept him, not only because of the way he can perform on the field, because he's a legacy player for the organization. Every now and then, you get a player who comes up through your minor league system. He's played his whole career with your team. He's on track to breaking team records. If he spent his whole career with the team, he's popular with the fans, and he can perform on the field. You kind of want him to spend his whole career with that team. And I think of Pete Alonso as being a potential Met legacy player. Let him be a career Met. He's going to be good at first base. He's decent defensively, not great, but better than average. Big bat, lots of home runs. He should be fine the next 5 years.
Yeah, should be. Right after this quick little couple messages, Jack, we'll be back and talk a little NBA and NFL. So hold on, folks. We'll be right back after this. The Monday live show lineup on our Roku channel. Mac and Jack Sports at 8 a.m. Eastern. Coffee and Sports at 9 a.m. Eastern. 10 a.m., Mac and Jack Sports. At 11 a.m., Ken and Ken in the morning. At 12 p.m., Coast to Coast. At 2 p.m., The Big Football Show. At 4 p.m., Snake Sports. At 6 p.m., The Man Cave. At 7 p.m., Glove Fist. At 8 p.m. Eastern, Sports Scope. At 9 p.m. Eastern, Start Spreading the News. To get the National Streaming Sports channel on your Roku TV, channel search National Streaming Sports. There's the channel search in Roku. There's our logo right on the right, NESSP. Tap on the logo and it will add to your TV, the channel to your TV. On your laptop, tablet, and mobile phone, download the free Roku app and channel search just like above. If you don't have Roku TV, you have to order a Roku device from the Roku store, hook it up to your smart TV, and bang, you have Roku TV. Again, channel search, National Streaming Sports, click on our NESSP logo, and add the channel. After adding the Roku channel, National Streaming Sports, this is our Roku site. You can click on the live stream to see what show is playing, or go to the VOD category, weekly schedule, click on the day, and it will give you all the shows scheduled for that day. So there you go. That's how you get us on the Roku channel, our Roku channel on Roku TV, and that's what happens when you get to the site, Jack. So that's information to everybody out there on what we're doing. So let's get to the basketball. There's not a lot of basketball news, Jack, out there right now. What we have, I knew I was going to do that. I'm always in the wrong section as I'm playing with my dashboard out there, folks. But anyway, so let's talk a little basketball. There you go. Some great graphics.
It's like an umbrella over my head.
Yeah, it almost is, Jack. So anyway, Russell Westbrook, he ends up with the Denver Nuggets, 2-year deal, $6.8 million. Not a lot of money for him. Depth at the guard for him. Denver seems to always be getting. I don't know. I don't know if Westbrook helps him or not, Jack. I mean, there's a shot of energy there. He's kind of older now. He sure ain't what he was way back when. Good move, bad move. What do you think? I mean,
Westbrook is. He gives you a jolt of energy if you use him the right way. He's effective. The problem is, how does Russell Westbrook perceive himself? He probably perceives himself as a star, if they're going to let him play full time. And Russell, I don't want to say Russell Westbrook's game doesn't translate into winning. I mean, they did go to the finals, him and Durant together when they were with OKC one year. But think of it now, since they left, Kevin Durant's, been a major star since he left OKC. And Russell Westbrook has moved around team to team, and it hasn't quite worked out. I mean, the Clippers used him as a reserve. It didn't work out with him at the Lakers. He went to Houston. He went to the Washington Wizards. He's been all over the league.
Right.
But can he help a team? He's a big name. It's like a marquee attraction. The team gets excited. We get Russell Westbrook. If you use him the right way, he can help a team. He can spark a team in certain situations coming off the bench. But basically that's what it is. It's a big marquee name. He gets in the lineup, fans get a little excited. But really, he's a good player, a potentially good player off the bench.
Our friend Derrick Rose, he's with the Memphis Grizzlies. I imagine he'll be there just as a backup also, and maybe just to be a guy that kind of helps out the guards and stuff. He's an older player. He really did. He started out playing a lot with the Knicks when he first got there, and then, of course, he ended up sitting on the bench, right on the bench for a while.
Which is revealing because Tom Thibodeau, he had coached Derrick Rose at Chicago, and he was big on Derrick Rose. He loved Derrick Rose. He, brought him to New York, and ultimately Derrick Rose stopped playing, which is a little bit revealing. He's, a bit long in the tooth, but players like Derrick Rose could sometimes come in for a few minutes and play really well.
Right.
And he's a veteran. He's smart, and his experience would be, a calming effect on some of the other players on the Grizzlies. Derrick Rose in the backup role, at the spell of Jay Morant now and then, and a couple of other players, it doesn't hurt. I mean, it could help.
It may be a common effect on Morant. I mean, we know the problems with John Morant. Maybe he takes him to the side. Maybe he works with him a little bit, talks to him a little bit. Sometimes a player has better success with other players than the coach does because of the different, the different relationships. So maybe he helps out a little bit with those young kids over there. It's what, I'm thinking that's a big part of why he's there. So, yeah. So let's see. The Bucks did do a couple things. They did add guard Malik Beasley and big man Robin Lopez to their team. Again, not as much as the Phillies and the Celtics re-signing everybody in the Knicks. They made a couple little moves that might help them out.
Lopez was a Buck player.
Yeah,
it's a Buck player. Malik Beasley's intriguing. The one-time very high draft choice. Yes. He's kicked around. I mean, he was really good when he was with the Timberwolves, and he had some issues early in his career that apparently have been cleared up. But Malik Beasley can be a dark horse type player, who maybe you don't expect a great amount from, who might produce a lot more than anticipated. You give him the minutes, Malik Beasley can still play. Yeah,
he definitely can. So let's hit the NFL here, Jack, a little bit. Stephen Jones with the Dallas Cowboys, of course, the son of Jerry Jones. They sent an offer over to CeeDee Lamb Friday. They're waiting for any kind of response here. It looks like they're getting closer. The one thing I didn't know about rookie contracts, Jack, you had an exemption to paying fines. As long as you're on a rookie contract, you don't have to pay anything. So CeeDee Lamb can sit out for as long as he wants until the regular season because he's a rookie. So there's no incentive. Right now, CeeDee Lamb has them basically where he wants them. Without CeeDee Lamb, I don't know who they would throw to. So, I mean, this is going to get done, and CeeDee Lamb's going to get what they want, Jack.
Yes, I didn't realize it either, Mac, with these rookie contracts that you can't get fined for holding out. So CeeDee Lamb, who's a receiver, he can hold out till a week before the season.
Yeah.
And then come to camp, maybe in the meantime, work out on his own, get the high school quarterbacks to throw to him or whoever. Go to a field and just keep working out. Keep yourselves ready. The team gets antsy and show up a few days before the season and not hurt his marketability because he'll get to play through the year. So if they don't sign him, the Cowboys, he can set, his market as a free agent by still having a big year. It's not like he's hitting the pocketbook for every day he misses.
Exactly. So, listen, he's in a great position. When I read that, I'm like, wow, no wonder why he ain't worried about getting fined or they didn't mention it. Lamar Jackson, of course, had an illness. He's all set. Their cornerback, Trevin Tremble. This is sort of like around the NFL. I'm going to give you a bunch of quick stories. The cornerback left camp with a shoulder injury. Carolina tight end Tommy Tremble having hamstring issues. That's not good for the Carolina Panthers. They can't afford to lose any of their starting players.
Issues are annoying, Mac. I've had you have to be careful how you bounce back. You could be feeling 90% recovered, and and you're playing the sport of football, and you're a receiver. Any position, it's quick bursts.
Yes.
Quick bursts, and you tried to run all out with a hamstring injury. A little story in Super Bowl III, the Jets' great wide receiver, Don Maynard, had a hamstring injury. At that time, you didn't have to report injuries to the NFL office. The Colts didn't know about it. He was Joe Namath's deep threat. Yes. So they used it as a decoy, and early in the game, Namath threw a bomb to Don Maynard, which went just slightly over Maynard's head because he had the hamstring injury. Had he been able to run all out, maybe he catches the ball and gets a touchdown. But because he was at 90%, you can't run all out with a hamstring. It affects you.
Yes. Browns, Deshaun Watson, shoulder injury, will throw, I guess on his first 11-11. Go ahead. Nick Chubb. Go ahead, Jack. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, yeah, you go ahead, Mac. Finish up. But I was just going to say to Deshaun Watson, this is a make or break year in a sense.
I agree with that.
He's got to deliver as much as any quarterback in the NFL. He's got to come back with all the controversy surrounding him, the big money he got paid. this is it for Deshaun Watson. Have a great year. And the Cleveland Brown organization feels vindicated in signing him, and the fans will be on his side, and everything. But have a bad year. It would be considered arguably one of the worst signings in NFL history. There's so much riding on it, not just for Deshaun Watson, but for that whole Cleveland Brown organization.
I agree. And their other star, Nick Chubb, and he's had his knee like destroyed twice. I mean, the most gruesome hits I've seen. He's running again. He's coming back. He's running. They don't know, when he will actually start practicing, but he's looking good. This guy must love football, Jack. I mean, that's twice. And every time something like that gets injured, it gets weaker. And, I've had that's one of the things, that's one of the injuries that stopped me from playing was my knee getting knocked out of socket. I don't know. I didn't see it, so I don't know if it was that bad, but it always makes me grimace when I see that. And, this guy must really love football. So anyway.
Well, some of these guys, you're wondering their level of financial security. But I think you said it best, Mac. We think that these athletes, they're greedy, they're playing for the money. A lot of them are playing for love of game. I remember when we had Jim Jeffcoat on the show, and I said, if the players didn't even get paid, would they sometimes show up to play on Sunday? He says, yeah, but we can't tell the owners that. A lot of them would love to play. Pete Rose once said when he was a free agent, he said, look, if everyone was playing for $80,000 a year, I'd play for that. I love playing baseball. A lot of these guys just love the game. When you start out playing it as a kid, Mac, you're playing for love of game. Right. At what point do you lose the love of game? I mean, when you start getting paid, when you become an adult and you don't have as much time because you have your regular job and your family to attend to. But they started playing the game, all of them, for a reason, because they loved it. They enjoy it.
And I think, Jack, really, that the guys are, you hear talking about flag football, the Olympics and all that. Everybody wants to play that. I think if they just one day were over somebody's house and you had a gathering of 30 football players, I wouldn't doubt that they think about, or maybe do, get in the backyard somewhere and start playing touch football, or maybe even a rough version of touch football, just because you are competitive. You got to be competitive to go that far. You have to be a fierce competitor. We talk about who's better, who's worse, who's more talented. Listen, they're all competitors. They got to be to get to that level, and they got to enjoy the game to get that level. The money is just right now status, Jack, as we've talked about in the past. So it's all about status, who gets more money than who. But really, deep down, they're playing this game because this is what they love to do. They're competitors, and they want to compete against the best. And the money is what the money is, right? It's the business part of it. So anyway, let's returning to the Browns. They got a lot of players that are kind of in and out there. Jerry Jeudy, close to return to practice. Tight end David Njoku had a great playoff. One of the better. I've seen him play the playoffs for the Browns, and you saw Joe Flacco throwing this guy. And this guy is an amazing tight end. He's practicing in his first practice. So the Browns got a few players that are, out early. I don't make a big deal out of training camp, Jack. Like I said, they're going to be more cautious than they would be normally. So they're just making sure everybody's healthy over there in the Browns. The Eagles linebacker Oren Burks is not practicing. And, of course, we know Pittsburgh, they're kind of being careful with Russell Wilson. He participated a little bit more in practice yesterday, but still Justin Fields is getting most of the reps. So that's about it for the injuries. Steelers are putting in their Hall of Fame or their Hall of of great players. They put in running back Willie Parker, Casey Hampton, linebacker Jason Gilden, and defensive coordinator, one of the betters in the history of football, Dick LeBeau, is inducted into their Hall of Honor, is what they call it. So those are some of the moves they made there. San Francisco signs wide receiver Frank Darby. I think that's they're going to be looking at a lot of wide receivers going in there with that Ayuk thing going on, Jack. So I
think when all's said and done, Ayuk is going to play for the Niners this year.
I don't know.
I mean, what's he going to do? If he holds out, he hurts his market value for next year. He's not going to do any better. So he could sit out a year. He loses a year's salary, and again, he gains nothing. Sitting out the year.
Is Ayuk on a rookie salary first, and second, would the 49ers trade him?
I think the 49ers would trade him if the price were right. If someone offered them a number one draft choice next year for Ayuk, I could see the deal being made. I really could at this point.
Okay. Bad news for Bills. Chase Claypool suffers an injury to his left foot, did not return to practice. Again, that may be something that nags him for the rest of the year. Maybe they just, they just rehab it or work it and have him stop practicing so much. So anyway, Claypool, the big signing for the Bills through the draft, he's out right now. This day in history.
The Bills replacing Stephon Diggs. They made certain moves. I really like him moving to draft Keon Coleman, the wide receiver from Florida. He's going to be a good one. Other teams should have taken him earlier. It was an absolute mistake. Him along with Nate Clemens, the cornerback from Clemson, who went late in the first round to the Ravens. Those guys should have went definitely much earlier than they did.
If there's one thing Jack knows, it's cornerbacks and defensive backs. I don't know where he gets
it. Listen, I'm right on these guys. You're going to see. I said Trent McDuffie was a steal for the Kansas City Chiefs, and turned out that way.
Yeah, I agree. This day in history, Jack, Dale Murphy hits two three-run home runs in one inning, 14th man to hit that, and a record 6 RBIs also in an inning. So that he not only hit 2 home runs, he drove in 6 runs in one inning. That's an incredible day for Dale Murphy. Dale Murphy was a good player, Jack. I'm not sure if he's in the Hall of Fame or not, but I know he was a very good player back then. I remember having.
He was a great player in his prime. I think he was a 2-time MVP, and he was outstanding. He didn't quite do it over a long period of time, but he was outstanding. Yeah,
I remember having his card when I was a kid. Let's see, 1991.
He's not that old. I mean, Dale Murphy. It wasn't that long ago. You're talking like he was in the 70s, 80s, whatever.
Let's see, 1991. Dennis Martinez pitches the 13th perfect game in baseball history. That's always that's a very small group. You're talking about
that for the Expos, right? Dennis Martinez.
Yes, and you're talking about, listen, how many years of baseball? We go back to 68 or something, 1820.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
Perfect games are a real rarity, but there's so much luck involved. I mean, sometimes I hate these stats because a perfect game is usually a team effort. It really is a team effort. Players usually are always going to make a great play in a perfect game. David Cohn's perfect game, 9th inning. The ball's hit to Ricky Leday. He loses it in the sun. He gets blinded, but the ball hits his glove and he catches it. Don Lawson's perfect game. Mickey Mantle had to make a great running catch. The deflections. I forgot who the pitcher was on the Washington Nationals. He would have had a perfect game, but the third baseman pulled the first baseman off with a throw. So the runner was safe, and they had to, it wound up being a no-hitter, not a perfect game. And there's so much luck involved. It really is a team thing. I'll tell you, Matt, the one thing I wouldn't want to be is on the field when my pitcher's pitching a perfect game. It's scary out there. You drop one ball, it becomes your legacy. Like in David Wells' perfect game, the last out was a fly ball hit to Paul O'Neill. If Paul O'Neill dropped that fly ball, he'd never be able to live it down. He probably wouldn't have his number have been retired by the Yankees. He might not be a broadcaster for the Yankees. He would be remembered as the guy who messed up David Wells' perfect game first and foremost. People don't want to hear that. They say, no, Not what all Paul O'Neill did. He would never be thought of that way. But wasn't Bill Buckner thought of that way with the ground
Yeah.
ball? Over 2,700 hits in his career.
But-
Great player. And
but
that's
that
what
was-
he was thought of.
But that was in the World Series, Jack. If that happened in a regular season, it wouldn't have been a big deal. That was a
No,
World
if
Series.
it's 2 outs in the ninth inning and the guy has a perfect game, it would be remembered by Yankee fans. It
Yeah, but
was.
I'm just saying that ball that went through his legs, that was World Series. If that was regular season, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But Buckner, that play kept the Mets alive. And anyway, let's see. 1993, Ken Griffey is the third to hit home runs in 8 straight games, and Ken Griffey, Jack, arguably could be top 2-3 outfielders in the history of baseball.
What I like about Ken Griffey, all reports that have come in on Ken Griffey say he did it cleanly. That way he was never aided in any way, if you know what I mean. He did things cleanly, completely. And great player at his prime. Yeah, when he was with Seattle, he was an all-time great. When he went to Cincinnati, I remember the Cincinnati GM saying, "We're getting the Michael Jordan of baseball." It was a fair remark to make at the time. And then he wasn't quite the same player at Cincinnati that he was at Seattle. You lose a little of your skills at some point with time. But he got to play with his dad. They both hit home runs in the game together. And, and he went back to Cincinnati where his dad, Ken Griffey Sr. had his best years.
Yeah.
One thing about Ken Griffey Jr., he never played for the Yankees because I think he was chased out of the clubhouse. He didn't like the way they acted towards him and his dad. And he took a vow he never was going to play for the Yankee organization.
I remember that. 1996, Darryl Strawberry hits his 300th home run.
As a Yankee.
As a Yankee. And, I was watching this special about Darryl Strawberry and, of course, Dwight Gooden both came over to the Yankees. And they said, listen, he was George Steinbrenner, they pointed out, was responsible for them kind of getting it back together in their career. And that, if you didn't play well, George Steinbrenner might just get rid of. He didn't fool around. And he was like a big daddy to, I like that father figure to these guys, Jack.
Steinbrenner did it for 3 reasons, okay? In no particular order. I'm not sure what the order is. One, he really was sincere about helping Strawberry and Gooden get their life together. He was sincere about that, okay? And he did, and he certainly helped Strawberry a lot and maybe Gooden to an extent as well. He also wanted to win, and he thought both guys could still contribute on the field. That's reason number 2. Reason number 3, it was a way for George to stick it to the Mets. You don't think he had to take satisfaction that the Mets never had a pitcher no-hitter, and Gooden pitches his first no-hitter, his only no-hitter, and it's as a Yankee.
Yes.
As a Yankee. Strawberry recently got inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame. I mean, not Hall of Fame. He got his number retired by the Mets. I'm sorry. He got his number retired after 8, and he played for the Mets for 8 seasons. Strawberry said to the Mets, and he meant it at the time he said it when they were retiring his number, "I wish I'd never left you guys. That's my biggest regret. I wish I'd spent my whole career with you." Now, think of this. Let's say Strawberry had a chance to do a do-over. Never would have resigned, never would have gone to the Dodgers as a free agent, and I'm sure he'll forget his Dodger time. And that means he never would have gone to the Yankees. So if he spent his whole career with the Mets, all those other years, he would only have that 1 world championship from 1986. He would have missed out on 3 world championships with the Yankees. Strawberry was a member of the Yankee World Series teams that won it all in 96, 98, and 1999. So that means Strawberry would have had 1 World Series as opposed to 4, that he won. Would he give it up to spend the remaining year with the Mets?
Yeah, I mean,
I
It
don't
sounds-
know.
Listen, it sounds good when you're getting your number retired, right? I mean, that's what you would say.
But
You
if he had
wouldn't
a
say,
mulligan, what
Yeah.
did he really mean? If he had a mulligan, what would he do?
well,
That's the thing about it.
I tend to agree with you, Jack. I think you're saying that he would probably done the same thing, gone with the Yankees to win number 3 World Series. But when you're getting your number retired by the Mets, that is the right thing to say. It's not, hey, I'm glad I went to the Yankees. I mean, that is the right thing to say when your number's getting retired by a
But you
team.
think of Mets, when the name Darryl Strawberry comes up, you think of an iconic Met. And had
Yes, I
he
think so.
stayed with the Mets all the additional years, and kept clean, think of all the records he could have set as a Met. Think
Yeah.
of how his legacy, I think, would have been his individual legacy would have been greater. But that it is now, much
I agree.
greater. But again, he wouldn't have had those 3 extra world championships. And it's like, I said to Jim Jeffco when we did the football show a while ago about Marlon Briscoe. He was a black man quarterback for the Denver Broncos,
Right.
but because of his color, he wasn't allowed to remain as quarterback for that long because that was the sick mentality of the NFL in those days and of society in those days to an extent as well. So he joins the Miami Dolphins, Marlon Briscoe, and he's part of 2 Super Bowl winners, the unbeaten Dolphin historical team and the one that won the Super Bowl the year after, but as a wide receiver, not as a quarterback. So if he stayed with Denver, he would have had a legacy as the first regular full-time black quarterback in the NFL historically, but he wouldn't have been in those historical Dolphin teams that won 2 Super Bowls. And Jeff Coates said, if I were him, it's the right decision. You be with the Dolphins because you're a competitor. You want to win. It could go either way, in other words.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I listen. What do you value more in your legacy when you look back on anything, Jack? Do you have pride in the hard times and still prevail, or I'm not saying easy, but easier times when you're with a team or with a group of people that do something that maybe you never thought you'd do or isn't what you value as most? I mean, that's a big decision. That's something you look back on your life and think about. Go ahead.
LaDainian Tomlinson never made it to a Super Bowl. He went to AFC championship games with the Chargers and the Jets. But after he retired, he said, I'm getting the biggest honor of all. It's better than the Super Bowl. I'm getting inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I'll be honest about it, Mac. You give me a choice to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame or be a 2-time Super Bowl winner. I pick the Hall of Fame. I do. Because the Hall of Fame is such an exclusive club, and you get a number of average players who are Super Bowl winners. I pick the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's just me if I could pick one or the other. It doesn't sound good to say that. But that's where I feel.
But I also think as LaDainian Thomas, what do you say? I mean, what do you say? I mean, you never won a Super Bowl, so of course you would say, I'd rather be in the Hall of Fame than win a Super Bowl. How does he know if he never played and won a Super Bowl? I mean, that's just that's speculation. Anyway, let me get this last thing in, Jack. We talked about numbers being retired. Pedro Martinez, number 45, was retired in 2015 for the Boston Red Sox. Arguably had the best, at his best, was the best pitcher in baseball, Jack.
Yeah, I have no problems with the Red Sox retiring his number. He's a Red Sox icon for what he did. But Martinez wasn't there for the 2007 season when they won it after they make a historic comeback in 2004. He signed as a free agent for the Mets. Right. If he's such an iconic player to your franchise and a team like the Mets wanted him bad enough to lay out big money, why didn't you keep him? Why didn't you work out something with his contract? I mean, all these numbers getting retired, we're going to have any numbers left after a while.
Right.
But Martinez deserves it. Great pitcher. He's thought of as a Red Sox. He came up as an X Expo. You know, it's funny, in 2009, he started game one of the World Series for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yes.
But Pedro's been around the block, and he started against the Yankees. That series.
He sure
He's been
has.
around the block, but a great pitcher,
Yeah,
pitcher.
for a 3-year stint, he had some of the best numbers and one of the best pitchers of all time.
Yeah,
thank you for joining us today, folks. We'll be back live Wednesday. Coffee and Sports is after us on Roku. Stick with the Roku channel all day for the best in sports. We'll see you soon, guys.